But thank you. It is a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be completely mocked before I get up on the stage. So it's taken me just a little while to get here, and so please forgive me if my energy seems to be just a little bit low. But I drove here from Marshall, Missouri, where I performed a wedding yesterday. So that's kind of cool. And it's wonderful to be engaged in a secular ministry, such as it is. And then I drove all the way down here on a tire that had broken a belt. Do we have something besides this to be behind me for a moment? Maybe like that little Windows ball that bounces around or something. And so I drove down here at the high speed of 50 miles an hour. Had the old cruise set on 50 miles an hour for any of you that are old enough to get that reference. And made a lot of friends on my way here, but I did make it, and I'm glad to be here. And so when they asked me to wind things up for this wonderful conference, first off, I was very, very disappointed that I wasn't going to be able to enjoy the conference with you. As you all know, I basically ad-lib every time that I speak, and one of the reasons that I do that, besides sheer laziness and not enjoying reading my own notes, is that I enjoy attending the conferences and trying to get a feel for what's being said in general, the direction that the conference takes itself, and then I try to plug in and fit into that instead of doing something, magically, or maybe using some type of telepathy or prophecy 3 or 4 months in advance. But I didn't have the opportunity to do that this time. So when they were asking me for a title, I did have a thought that I want to try to share with you today, and I'm going to do it, and as I speak, it's going to sound like I'm preaching, because that's just me. And I think the few things that I have to say, Bishop Barker, I didn't know you were still here. Oh, I love you so much. I could just run up and hug and kiss you. Yeah. I'm Deacon DeWitt. He's Bishop Barker. He has the privilege of outranking me for lots of reasons, but primarily because his name starts with a B. But he does say that I owe him tithes every time that I tell my story, because he is my personal Jesus. And any of you who have read the book or have heard my story, you know the connection. And so you know why I'm absolutely awestruck that he's here in the room. So now I'm very uncomfortable. So I did think of a thought, and it's going to sound as if I'm preaching, and I hope that you'll be able to take it in stride with me, because this isn't something that I do as a parody, but this is a reflection of who I am and of the life that I've lived. So the thought that came to my mind was simply this: Dear religion, it's not you, it's me. Dear religion, it's not you, it's me. And so I want to take a moment, and with all the different recordings that are going on, it gives me an opportunity to document, as it were, a Dear John letter. Dear religion, it's not you, it's me. I was going to start with this, and I'm glad that the bishop is here to hear it. September of 2011, I'd yet to realize that I had not escaped all the things that I was afraid would happen whenever I came out. I thought I'd dodged the bullet. I'd gone to my boss a few months earlier, and I explained to him with the best language that I had at the time. I was still so new and naive about the secular movement as a whole, or even about my own atheism. But I'd gone to him and I'd explained everything that I could, the best that I could. We sat on his back porch. He's got this little mobile home that looks a little bit more like a camp, with this wooden back porch on the back looking out into a cow's meadow. And we sat back there, and he had a beer, even though he's a staunch conservative Pentecostal, and I refused one for some strange reason. The tables were turned at that moment. And I explained to him everything that was going on, and he said, "Don't you worry about it. It's going to be all right. No matter what the rest of the world may call you, I'm still going to call you a brother, and you'll always have a place in this company and always have a place in my life." And I felt like I dodged a bullet. I thought that I could begin to move away from the ministry, move into the secular movement to the best understanding that I had of what it was at the time, and that somehow I wouldn't have all the repercussions that so many ministers like Bishop Barker himself have gone through. And I was excited. I was absolutely elated on that September. Well, I met with Bishop Barker's wife, Annie Laurie Gaylor, down in New Orleans, and we walked Bourbon Street together. She had spoke for the New Orleans Secular Society or Association or something like that, NOSHA. And she turned to me at the most opportune moment during this wonderful dinner. Now keep in mind that up to this moment, I think I'm getting away with this. I feel as if I'm really going to be able to enter into this new life without any damage whatsoever. And I'm terribly excited. I was sitting next to a biologist. I'd never sat at a dinner next to a biologist. And I was asking him the most simple of questions, but he was excited to tell me, and I was excited to learn. And people were standing up and giving speeches during this banquet, and they were singing my song, as it were. They were talking in terms that reflected my life, and I was excited because everything was new, and I was getting away with it. And then Annie Laurie turned to me and she said, I think Dan's going to call you in the next couple of days. He would like for you to be on our radio show. And there was this very deep-seated, very emotional, truly heartfelt groan down on the inside of me that once it raised itself up into my consciousness, it sounded something like, to me, oh, shit. And suddenly I was horrified, and I instantly put all the pieces together because I knew that their program was popular, and I knew that their names were attached to this new secular movement in a way that I was not yet attached. And it started creeping on to me that maybe I might not get away with this so scot-free after all. And so the night before the interview, I laid in bed, and if you've read the book, you already know the story, but I laid in bed and I literally sobbed until I shook because I knew that I was approaching a major turning point within my life. That when I would do that show with Dan and Annie Laurie the next day, that I would suddenly be on the internet and I would be public in a way that I had never been public before. All of their listeners would hear me that next weekend and hear my voice and hear my story, and I might not be able to get away with it the way that I thought that I was going to be able to get away with it. So as I laid there and I rolled, holding this thought in my mind, completely horrified at what the future might be, I realized that the only reason that I would back out from that was out of fear of rejection. And my life crystallized at that moment. All of a sudden, I reviewed my entire history in a flash, and I could see that almost everything that I'd done, every step that I'd taken, every word that I'd said was trying to please people, trying to gain their respect, trying to get their favor, trying to connect with them and earn their love and somehow receive some type of love from them that apparently was missing inside of me, and that the only reason I would not publicly make this radio program was because I would be afraid of the rejection that would follow. Dear religion, it's not you, it's me. I came into you broken. I started this love affair with you completely broken. And that's probably the reason why I was attracted to you. And it's probably the reason why you attracted me so easily, because there was so much missing within me. There were so many parts of my life and so many parts of my personality that for one reason or the other was never instilled in me. And when I met you, you were beautiful and you were all-encompassing and you were filled with hope and love and promise. And you told me that I was so significant that the Creator of the universe Himself would lay down His life for me. But I was broken. There was pieces within me that were missing. There was something about me that instinctively, passionately, all-consumingly wanted to please people, wanted to be accepted, wanted to receive admiration and confirmation of value. Dear religion, I came into our relationship flawed. I came into our relationship immature. I didn't instinctively understand the value that every human being possesses for no other reason than the fact that they are here. And that they are a small piece of the universe looking back on itself, understanding everything from algebra to quantum mechanics. able to look through a telescope and see further than anyone would have ever imagined that we could see, further than dreams, further than fantasies, all the way to the very end of vision itself. But I came in not understanding those things. Dear religion, it's not you, it's me. I had wandering feet when we fell in love with each other, and whenever I began to learn all of the beautiful things about you and you begin to explore all of the things that make me who I am. Little did we know at that time that I had feet that would instinctively walk further than you would walk. In the beginning, religion, you and I, we truly did love the journey. We would explore new doctrines and we would explore new thoughts and we would talk to different ministers and explore new ideas, and we would walk and we would walk and we would walk. We would leave friends behind. We would leave some family behind. We would leave churches behind. We would leave other doctrines and other denominations and other theologies behind. But we walked together, and the love was real and intense and all-consuming, and you were my partner of exploration. And we journeyed throughout the space of thought. But little did we know that one day I would walk too far. That these same wandering feet that made us great life partners for 25 years would cause me to outwalk you. And I can still remember your loving beckonings. Don't go quite that far. Stay back here with me. That was the words that you sang to me the day before I did the interview with Bishop Barker. Don't go quite that far. Stay back here with me. We can work this out. We can find a way to make this work. There's got to be a common language. There's got to be a common thought pattern. There's got to be a way. We've been together so long. We've loved each other so long. We've shared so much. We have so much in common now. Just don't take that next step. Stay here with me. But religion, you didn't know that I had been walking off on my own at night when you lay asleep, when I left you on Sundays and Wednesdays. I kept walking deep into the night. I had replaced my walks of prayer. I'd replaced it with meditation and study. And now when I would look up into the stars, I had walked so far away from you that I no longer saw the same images that you saw. But I saw something vastly different. We didn't know that my feet would carry me away from you. Dear religion, it's not you, it's me. We didn't know that the work that we would share, one of the main reasons that I would so intensely love you was because of your desire to help people. The way that you love people, the way that you cared about people. Somehow, religion, you always attracted me to the ministers, to the churches that were charitable and seemed to always put a certain amount of charity before everything else. And our hands together, we worked together with the refugees that came from Rita and Katrina. We worked in those community centers together. We boxed the boxes. We made out the beds. We fed people. We helped people. We loved people together. And it felt as if it made us a perfect couple. But little did we know that my hands, these hands of work, were different than your hands. The priorities were shifted. You were always willing to hand with your left some form of charity as long as you thought there was the opportunity with the right hand to give the right hand of fellowship and to pull someone into the fold. But I just couldn't get that priority right. I felt like we should feed them because they were hungry. And I felt like we should love them because every human being deserves love. And it was hard for me to stay on board with the mission. It was hard for me to feel like that we would use our hands for any other reason than to hug the rest of humanity and share this common experience and to walk through life together. Dear religion, it's not you, it's me. I was born with hands that wanted to help for help's sake. Can I get a Darwin? Dear religion, it's not you, it's me. I was born this way. I was born inquisitive. I was born wanting to go a few more steps further than I should go. I was born just naturally loving people with no ulterior motive. I was born the saint that you wanted me to be. Little did we know, in those late nights, those early nights, those first few nights, when you would activate my imagination in ways that it never had before. I can still remember whenever you would tell me the stories of the New Jerusalem. And I was enthralled. I was hypnotized by your stories. I was hypnotized by what you told me were truths, and I later found out were just legends and myths and mythology. But nevertheless, when you would put me to bed at night and I would hear your stories, I loved your stories, and my imagination was activated in a way that it never had been before, and I really wanted everything that you were telling me to be true. All but one. Little did we know when we first started dating 25 plus years ago that my imagination would generate other thoughts and would be attracted to other stories. Little did we know that later on you would tell me the story of Noah's Ark. And to you would tell the story in tones of love and grace and generosity and of destiny. And oh, how I loved your stories of destiny. Because I was broken and I was longing for significance. And to know that there might be a divine plan, that the Creator of the universe has somehow had me eyed for a special mission, a special purpose. It filled those broken parts within me. And so when you told your stories of destiny, even the stories of Noah's Ark, where one family was selected above all others, in the beginning, I heard what you were saying, and I loved you for it because I knew that you only told me that story because you thought I was part of that family. Little did we know that my imagination would later on cause me to put myself in that story. Not just see myself as benefiting from the story, but I would put myself in the story and I would feel the rain as it would pelt upon my back. And I would feel the anxiety and the fear that had to mount as the water would rise. Dear religion, it's not you, it's me. My imagination is out of control. I know you meant something good, but I couldn't help but imagine and hear the voices of the mothers and the fathers as they would scream out for mercy, trying to hold their child just a little bit higher and a little bit higher and a little bit higher, trying to save their infants, their innocent infants, from God's judgment. That's not the way you told the story, but it's not you, it's me. That's where my imagination took me. Dear religion, it's not you, it's me. This heart that fell in love with you. This heart that fought so hard to stay with you. This heart, even after it was no longer a believing heart. This heart that was willing after that moment to do whatever it could to just stay in the house with you. This same heart had to eventually realize that it was kinder than you are. That it goes places and walks places that you won't go because it's braver than you are. That it helps people that you won't help without ulterior motives because it's more compassionate than you are. This same heart, after years, had to realize that those imaginations were not acts of rebellion. I wasn't wanting separation. I wasn't wanting distance. I wasn't wanting to bust up our wonderful relationship. But this heart produced those imaginations simply because it loved the people within those stories. This heart loved the sinners. This heart loved the sinners. And this heart loved the God that you told the stories of, so much so that he had to take him exactly as he was for his own good with no pretense. Dear religion, it's not you, it's me. I'm not saying that you're all bad, and I'm not saying that I'm all good. But I am saying that we're not a match made in heaven. I am saying that without you, I'm freer. That without you, my feet go where my feet go. My feet walk in paths of self-expression. Now without you, I'm not encumbered. Now without you, I'm not worried about you, and I'm not trying to make sure you're well and make sure you're all right, and I'm no longer having to make excuses for you. Now you live your life and I live my own, and I wish you the best, but I also now wish the best for myself. And now these feet go where they should go, and these hands do what they should do for no other reason than because that's what they should do. And this imagination is actively engaged in the wonder and the beauty of the universe. And all those people that you told me that they were inherently sick and of no value, now my imagination is able to lock into reality in a way that it never was able to before. And I can see their beauty regardless of the situation. Even when they cut me off in traffic, I still know there's only one of them. And I almost honk, but I don't honk. Because I know from this heart that separated me from you that they're probably having a really bad day, because human beings have really bad days, and it's a trial and it's a struggle and it's difficult to go through life for every single person, believer and non-believer. You see, religion, it's not you, it's all of us. And you were a temporary fix, but you're not the answer. The answer is me, and the answer is the rest of us. And the answer is not washing the world over with a flood. The answer is the people that you're trying to wash away or that you're trying to change. The answer isn't making them more like somebody else. The answer is encouraging them to be themselves, to walk where only their feet can go, to do what only their hands can do, to love the only way that their heart and mind can love. Say on. Preach it. Dear religion, it's not you, it's me. And I'm so incredibly glad that it is. And now when I talk to your other lovers, I remember that I was one of them. And I talk to them with patience. And I talk to them with hope. Sometimes I tell them how bad of a lover you are. But I know they're still wrapped up within the sheets of your theology. And they're still enjoying the pleasures of your intimacy, and they're still wrapped up in your stories and your imagination. So I just wait for them to get enough. Because in so many ways, I'm more of a believer now than I've ever been. I'm a believer in what I see setting before me today. I'm a believer in where your feet will take you, and in what your hands will do, and in what your imagination will bring for the goodness of the rest of humanity into this world, and for you to follow your own heart. I believe in you. So as we walk away from this particular event, as we walk away from this conference, this convening of non-believers, be a believer in yourself. Understand that you are walking a path that will never be walked again. Your significance is absolutely unimaginable. There is no value that can ever be placed on you and your life. Wherever it is that your heart of love is telling you to walk, you need to walk that direction. Whatever it is that your heart of love is telling you to do, you need to be engaged in that activity. Whatever it is that your mind and your heart of love is creating as a vision and a dream for your life, you deserve to live that life. You deserve it. Dear religion, it's not you, it's us. Thank you.